Let's go ahead and get down to business here. I think the first item is, there are a lot of pieces of malware that are targeting financial organizations. And John, I guess this isn't a new one, but it's certainly one that has taken a little bit of a new slant.
Well, right. So there's been a warning that was issued by the people from Salesforce.com. They do, I think it's customer management type platform.
Yep.
And what they're warning about is there's been a particular campaign pushing out the Dyre piece of malware, it's Dyre, also sometimes called Dyre. And this is a banking Trojan. We actually covered it back on, I think, episode 99. We talked about it back in June. And it's a new piece of banking malware, very similar to Zeus, but it looks from the code base that it's different. It's not based on Zeus. It's its own, origin, and has a lot of similar functionality, captures login IDs and passwords and harvests those and then sends them up. So really there's not much new to this story other than kind of a warning that came out from Salesforce.com, which is a pretty big site used by a lot of sales teams to organize their customer relationship type stuff. They've observed that there's a campaign targeting the harvesting of credentials for Salesforce.com.
Right.
So that's really the warning here. The important thing to note is Salesforce.com is not the ones with the problem here. There's not a vulnerability with their website. Their accounts, credentials have not been stolen from their website or anything like that. It's no big data dumps. What's happening here is Dyre, the way it's just like any regular malware where it affects users' PCs. If the user is not cautious enough and gets their computer infected and then logs into the Salesforce.com website, then it gets harvested, and that's how they're doing the harvesting here.
So I think the sort of the basis behind this is folks that are managing a Salesforce, they're paying the Salesforce, they may be using Salesforce.com as a means to manage that. So if they can get credentials from folks that are accessing Salesforce.com, they may be able to get some opportunity to perform fraudulent financial transactions, that is, transfer money to them one way or another. So I understand it's an email spamming campaign, effectively?
They didn't go into a lot of detail. However, I suspect that that's probably, we know from previous, Dyre campaigns that it was spam that was sent out, and then click on the link and it would take you to an exploit page that would drop it on your machine.
So is there a possibility that the detection of this malware is lagging a little bit, partly because it's relatively new compared to the Zeus family?
Well, we could say it's definitely lagging. We know we've seen samples today that is not detected well by antivirus. I think it was 5 of the 54 or 45 on virus total where the only had picked it up, so that's a pretty low ratio, whatever, 10% or something like that.
Right.
But they catch up, so it's always a game of catch up. There are some good signatures out there that you can deploy in your IDSs to pick this up, or IPSs if you have a prevention system. So that you can augment, do some kind of layered defense there. Get your endpoint to pick up the malware when it can as they roll new signatures out, but there's also some network-based signatures that can look for the network-based command and control callback and let you know when that's happening, which would be relatively less dependent on the actual malware binary itself, because they tend to have a very similar command and control even when they rebuild the binary each time.
Okay.
One point there, though, is if you're picking the traffic up on your network, the machine is already compromised, and if they get off of your network, if you block it on your network, if it's a laptop that they take home and plug in at home, they're still going to upload the credentials. So, if you detect the network stuff, you still need to make sure you go clean up the infected machines.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right, absolutely. And I guess, we mentioned earlier about employee awareness. This would be certainly a case where you want to make sure that folks, particularly they're using Salesforce.com, that they're aware of this campaign and that they can, pay attention to any emails they're receiving and, do an extra special scrutinization.
Right. Have an elevated awareness around weird emails that you receive and what you click. You should always be doing that, but maybe a little more so now, especially if you're a Salesforce.com user.
Right, absolutely.